Good evening, Professor and friends. I'm Jack. Today I'm going to talk about the TED Talks by Daniel Loftin, 2025 November, on how to stay calm when you know you're a bit stressed. And this is my table of contents. We're going to briefly introduce the introductions, key methods, summary, and opinions. So let's start with the introductions. How to Stay Calm When You Know You're a Bit Stressed is a TED Talk by Daniel Loftin, a neuroscientist, where he shares a personal story and discusses a strategy for staying calm and making better decisions, especially under stress. So before we dive into the key methods or key points, I want to share a story with you by the authors. So in a cold night, he forgets his keys, so which resulted in he couldn't go into his own house. And then eventually he just broke into his own house and he couldn't stay in his friend's house because he has an early flight tomorrow morning and he have to prepare everything like suitcases, passports, clothes, and so on. And then he didn't have a tight sleep because he's under pressure, under the stress. So tomorrow morning, he just ran through to the airport and he realized he forgot his passport. So after the things, he was trying to figure it out why it happens to him, why he forgets his passport, why he's being so stressed. So he come up with the idea of the key points, the key methods. The first one is the importance of pre-mortem, which we anticipating potential problems before they occur to reduce the stress and improve the outcomes. It's just like the weather forecast. The people trying to prevent something happens in the future, so we have to think of the situation in that moment and trying to find the best solutions for it, and then we can improve the outcomes. For the second one is the medical decision making, where we're applying logical strategies to make better choices under pressures. And lastly is the home organization, where we create an organized environment to minimize the stress and save time in daily life. And in this talk, I think the author is it's more specific in the explaining in the like organizing home, like you put some specific items in the specific places, like keys in the drawers and so on. So when you're trying to find it, your brain will tell you what exactly does the things you placed before. But in real life, I think this kind of strategy can also like if you're learning mathematics, you're like remember every formulas inside one particular places in your brain. So when you are trying to solve the final exam for your mathematics, and you can bring that space, like think of the mathematics in the spaces you share, you store your memories, and then trying to figure it out the problems. It's like the organizing your brain storage and so on. And to summarize everything up, he, like the author, introduces the pre-mortem concept, planning for potential failures in advance to avoid disasters. The tips, like we mentioned before, including organizing essentials, storing digital backups, and asking critical questions, like medical states for better decision and making under stress. Lastly is my own opinions. So I want to emphasize in how importance of understanding stress. Like everyone will have the chance to occur the stress, including like you're having the presentations, you're doing your final exams, or you have the family conflict, you have to dealing with stress. So that's why it brings me about the idea of why we all need stress. So stress can make you to have the abilities to like solve the difficulties or to have the critical thinking to encounter some challenges to make you have the thoughts of that kind of things. So for my suggestion, everyone should have the experiences of facing the stress. Not only the presentations, you have to jump out from the comfort zone to another countries to talk to the foreigners, just trying to improve your like world to the difficulties things or something that makes you uncomfortable. By dealing with these things, you against the power or the knowledge of how to dealing with stress. So in the future, just like we mentioned before, we have to prevent something happens in the futures. We have to dealing with the ideas beforehand. So like if you're working in a big companies, you're going to have the presentation to your boss, then you have the idea how to present, how to dealing with the stress because you have already have the experience before it. You know how to dealing with the ideas. You know how to dealing with the boss. Okay. And lastly, I want to end this presentation by the quotes by Bill Phillips. Stress should be the powerful driving force, not an obstacle. Thank you.